Hello Internet, so great to see you all again. I hope you are doing well. Today we're going to be taking a show from our podcast, FoxDenn Entertainment, and releasing it here so that it can wreak its havoc among many more minds. Welcome to Critic-Alley. Here, we're going to take pop culture, pick it apart, chew it up, and become cinema-spewing dragons. Dragons, I say! Nothing hurts your pride more than watching cringy old home movies littered with the psychological faults of an entire nation. So let's dig in, fellow skeptics. Today, we feast upon the 1979 horror classic, Phantasm. Written, edited, and photographed by Don Coscarelli. This movie begins with slow crawl title scenes. Come, marvel with me at ancient film companies from long ago. The fossils of a bygone age. Then we jump right into a scene of shoes, loose clothing, and heavy breathing. That's right, the movie begins with the smells that sells, a sex scene. In a cemetery, no less. It was a graveyard smash! Lynyrd Skynyrd's stand-in, Tommy, and Broad with not enough eye makeup to hide her crazy, or the lady in violet, as she's credited, are busy getting busy when she decides to just stab the guy. Sinks the knife into his chest and slides off as the wind dramatically blows her hair in triumph. But not the trees or anything. How many of you ladies have had that fantasy? Don't lie. Dude's only words are ooh, which he delivers with the same unimpressed enthusiasm that he gave her when she was teetering on his Peter. No wonder she stabbed him. Couple time-lapse days later, we meet our protagonists. Man whose hair fled his head from his sheer awesome, Reggie, and the mandatory young stud of the horror film, Jody, played by Reggie Johnson and Bill Thornberry respectively. They came to mourn the death of their Skynyrd clone of a friend who was shagged, tagged, and bagged, all at this mausoleum of Morningside. More like morning wood, if you ask me. The date night destination for young couples, as we learn throughout the duration of this film. The place is very weird, very white, and very marble. Enter the kid, played by Michael Baldwin, who comes stalling in on his dirt bike between the graves of Jane Henderson and James Oliver Fitzpatrick. He came to spy on the funeral procession instead of attending it like a normal person, binoculars in hand, you know, like kids do. Then we join Jody inside the mausoleum, staring at his parents' dedicated drawers, when BAM!
The funeral is about to begin.
Obligatory tall man jump scare. The sudden, pants-filling scene of him placing his hand on his shoulder ominously really got me thinking, why approach people that way? Is it really worth it? Come on, man, ring a bell. Play some music. Use a PA. There are dozens of ways of commencing a gathering, and now you gotta pay for my dry cleaning because of your poor decisions. Friggin' jolly gray menace. Right there. Poop face.
The funeral.
Jody bails, but the kid stays behind to spy on the tall man. Did you see him pick up that second string Skynyrd's coffin single-handedly and huck it in the back of a hearse like an old cheeseburger? It took 6 grown men earlier to do that. Jeez, Mr. Muscles. Kid goes and visits what I can only assume is the town psychic. Or witch. A girl roughly his age and just as creepy as the house he's walking into answers the door and leads him through it to see her grandmother, who uses more than enough candles to light every church in a 30-mile radius just to sit there in sunglasses in her fancy chair like some sort of black magic Stephen Hawking with a serious Ozzy Osbourne fetish. No joke. Look. Much like Hawking, she doesn't use her vocal cords, but instead telepathically communicates through her granddaughter like one of Jeff Dunham's playthings. He explains to her how his codependency is so intense that he chases his brother on his morning bike rides with a fun flashback scene.
He's a tough little kid. I love him. I'm gonna miss him.
Then brings up the tall man with another flashback that brings up a scene from earlier. You know, the one where he threw the coffin like it was nothing? He scrambles to get on his bike, but before he can escape, he's flung by telekinesis. You know, the one that all weird tall people have. You know the one. Granny Osborne simply asked if he wants to play a game, which doesn't sound like a saw trap to me at all. She manifests a box and tells him to put his gullible hand inside. I can think of 10 good reasons why you don't want to poke around inside of a magic box, but he does it anyway. When something hurts him, she says, "Don't be afraid." Don't be afraid? He came here because he was afraid. Especially due to his fear of a psychokinetic giant that body snatches perfectly good Lynyrd Skynyrd doubles. It's madness. After calming down, his hand is released, and he places a couple dollars on the magic box, and it fades away. Reggie pulls up in his ice cream truck, and then... That's right, he saunters up, picks up the acoustic, and reveals that he is the true star of this stage, as he slams those solos in the way that only a man with soul can. That really only ends up being so relevant. As a fellow musician myself, I can just respect a good solo. Skip forward that night to a bar in the desert. Jody pulls up, walks in, sits down at the bar, and orders a drink next to the lady in violet. Or as you may remember her, Mad Memories McStab Happy back in Act 1. No joke, Stud doesn't spend 5 minutes with her before they leave together. Haha, well-placed parking and rear sign, right? You would think down the street meant a hotel or something, but nope. They went back to the cemetery. Good old Morningwood. Bonetown, USA. Of course his brother is still following him, so when the breasts fly, he's like, whoa. Yeah, like that. As he's being a peeping Tom, I follow a growl that seems to come from everywhere. He foolishly wanders out to realize that it's no wolf, but a small man, making the most convincing snarl I've ever heard come from a cloaked hobbit. Kid gets a close-up of real ugly before sharding himself in abject horror of his newfound fear of dwarven werewolves. See right there? Poop face. And then he goes crashing through the middle of the loose ground bone down. Jody finally catches him and...
No, it was little and brown and low to the ground.
Using it, Kid wanders off on his own the next day, for once, in his damn jean jacket, next to a payphone, which to some of you is just an extinct relic that you'll never see anyway. As he checks it for change, that's him pooping again. Why did we need this scene? Why? Why did we need to see the tall man's orgasm face? Imagine looking up at that freaking colossal creep. Jump back to the kid in the garage where he's working on his car. Then he starts hearing some weird noises, and the car starts to shake so violently that it puts the Titanic scene to shame and knocks the jacks out so that it falls on top of the kid, forcing him to go through an auto body experience. Pinned beneath it, wiggling and screaming, "Shake, rattle and roll." His brother eventually finds him, pulls him out, and dismisses his explanation by verbatim saying this.
Sure wasn't that retarded kid Timmy up the street?
Who apparently has a record of breaking into people's garages and jumping up and down on their cars like friggin' Donkey Kong. To be fair, the 70s were a very different time and they didn't know how to approach sensitive subjects like that. Clearly that was the wrong way, but that night, or later that night, time doesn't matter right now, there's an insane, tall man terrorizing the streets. Kid sneaks out to go to Morningwood in his stupid jean jacket for some good old B&E. He finds a room full of coffins and... oh dang, an old codger with no previous screen time! Before he can find Mike behind coffin number 3, the tall man appears. They look at each other and just bail. Cool, whatever. Mike goes to leave when clang bang murder thing, in comes the ball! This silver sphere of certain sudden skewer. I've been waiting for this scene for the whole movie because I remember it from my childhood. Ball flies in, Kid dodges it just barely. Hatman comes up and tries to grab him, prompting the kid to chomp down on his hand. Hatman doesn't give in, but Mike's bloodlust is not fulfilled as he bites even deeper into the meat and tissues of the hand of he who would not be named. He can't hold him any longer and lets him go. Look at that face. He knows he's screwed. He sees the ball coming. He knows the ball wants one thing and is now equipped with forked blades. Who's hungry? Tall man chases Mike into a room and gets his fingers lopped off in this really illogical way. Look at this door. Now watch this. Now. Nope, not even gonna do it. Moving right along. He goes to make his great getaway, but as he climbs out the window, he's grabbed by tiny feet that hold him just long enough so they can have product placement on the shoes he's wearing. And he kicks the little buggers off and rolls away. He's got that one finger in his pocket still, don't forget. Back at home, Jody wants to call the cops? No priest at least? No exorcist? Meanwhile, the finger is turning into a friggin' fly monster in the other room, cause what is anything? Reggie shows up to watch them shove into the garbage disposal and stab it to death. Act 3. It gets real. Jody arms up and heads out to Morningwood. He climbs in the same window Mike did earlier, and he's greeted by Tofro McBaghead, who is swiftly thrown to the ground and shot 4 times because Jody is done playing. And he just leaves? Oh, right. He needed to have a car chase with the tall man. That makes sense. They shoot out his engine, swerves into a tree, and they go to investigate the corpse, hoping to find that they finally killed the tall man. But what they found was way worse. It was one of those little aggressive Jawas, but not any aggressive Jawa. A suspiciously Lynyrd Skynyrd looking Jawa. That's right, it's Tommy, but tiny and terribly twisted, then terminated by temple trauma. They locked the little tater tot inside Reggie's ice cream machine before going inside to have a serious meeting about what they're going to do. They want to hide Mike because they finally decided it's too dangerous, so they want to tuck him away at Sue and Sally's antique store. 2 more characters that up until now we had no idea about. Stop doing that. But like I said, they own an antique store with one of these. Your heart out, J.K. Rowling. Jody's dreams are haunted by the tiny hooded hands of hairy houndmen, while we find Reggie's ice cream truck flipped over in the gutter. Who did this to you, Reggie? The kid, Sue, and Sally come across it while they're just, perusing about the neighborhood. Mike runs over to check it out, notices that even though it's locked, see? The midget still escaped. He goes running back to the car and shouts, "Go!" But of course, this is horror movie logic, so they don't. They just act confused. And then 3 wee little monsters jump into the back of the car, and it starts shaking about for, honestly, way too long. Then the kid gets thrown out the window comically. And the car, that sounds like it's carrying a terrifying orgy, creeps slowly into the night out of view. Kid's out for long enough not to care what happened to Sue and Sally. He doesn't even look around to try to find them. He just goes home. Jody decides to lock him in his room, and then we get this scene. Yeah, he earned that. As soon as he escapes, the tall man grabs him, throws him in the back of the hearse, starts driving away. The kid once again redeems his poor fashion sense by shooting out the window, then the tire, and tucking and rolling out of the vehicle like friggin' James Bond. They all meet back at the cemetery, luck would have it. It was calling them. Then the ball comes back! Now equipped with beast vision. You guys remember that 90s monster vision that was in infrared and it would be creeping up slowly behind the person like... Yeah, Ball did it first. And Jody skeet shoots it, just blasts it to 1,000,000 pieces. I loved that Ball. They're finally about to get to the mystery of this whole puzzle when friggin' Reggie appears. I'm glad he didn't die in the ice cream incident. Reggie tells his story of hiding in a casket, getting brought here, ending up with the 2 girls, helping them escape, and then coming to look for the 2 guys. But something seems wrong to me. If they were making Munchkins, why would it matter if he was dead or alive? Other dead people turned into him. Remember Skynyrd Munchkin? If he helped the girls escape, why not leave? Did he know that Jody and Mike would end up here? Is Reggie in on it? They meet up again after Mike goes through the portal and learns about the scheme through an epiphany that he has in there about how the tall man is kidnapping people, dead or alive, through this dimension, compressing them down and taking them back to his own place so that he can use them as slaves. Then, whoosh, lights go out. But he comes face to face with crumpled pelt skin. Poop face. Everyone is lost, because that's what you do in old movies. You get lost, and you freak out, and you yell in the dark. Outside, the lady in violet has returned. She's standing in the bushes with a knife. Same knife, actually, that I think just killed Skinner. Reggie's inside, getting really weird with those pedestals. Double Dutching him, really getting his hands all over them. The look on his face is the one you get when you're cleaning your ears. Yeah, that nearly orgasmic face. Weird because Mike didn't seem to enjoy it when he was touching those pedestals. Reggie's excitement kicks the portal onto high and it begins sucking everything in the room into it at such high velocities that Hoover would be proud. After fighting his way through that, Reggie heads outside and finds the lady in violet. Not being privy to who she is at all, he's like, oh my god, let me help you, when she stabs him. All this way, Reggie, and you just let some crazy bimbo stab you. The lady in violet reveals that she is the tall man in a really weird back and forth face swap scene that takes place as he's straddling Reggie's dying body. So, Skinner, back in Act 1, Reggie just sits there and suffers until he stops breathing. Rough. The house swaps from red to yellow to red until it teleports away because apparently everything's sentient. We don't know what's going on here. Back at the house, the boys sit there to debate what's going to happen again because this is the final team huddle. This is the end of the quarter. It's now or nothing. Where do you take a bloodthirsty old man? To the abandoned mine shaft. Grabbing ammo, the tall man appears again and begins this weird standoff. Did he forget to run? Award winning. Of course he chases them into the mines, falls victim for their Scooby-Doo nonsense, but grabs the boy's leg because he almost didn't make the jump himself, and the boy kind of kicks him off until he falls. And they cover him up with a boulder and they're like, yay, it's over! Then Mike wakes up. Reggie's there. That's right. Reggie! He can't die. Reggie says Mike was just having a bad dream. The tall man wasn't real. Jody died a week ago in a car crash. Mike hasn't been the same since the funeral. Reggie says they should take a road trip. Probably good for him, right? Mike agrees and goes up to his room to get ready. And in the mirror is the tall man! And then Cronenberg Furbies put their dirty little paws all over him and yank him inside of the mirror. End credits. I would like to mention, there's a bottle of pills on his cabinet. You see him when he walks in. Was it a dream? Or was it madness? Either way, it was bonkers.
I think he's got some kind of a problem.
Thank you, Angus Scrim, for bringing life to the tall man and nightmares to thousands of children. You sicko. Call me sometime. Thanks for coming back, guys. I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed it, show a friend. Critically yours, Fox.